Well, welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King and Daniel Mangana. Today is, what is it? It's Tuesday, isn't it? March 3rd, 2020, 4 p.m. New York time. So wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are getting off to a slightly late start today, but better late than never. I will begin by saying that there are some days when you really get reminded, Alex, you probably know this particularly well because you've been going through stuff yourself lately, where you're reminded about how important it is to stay in alignment, and you're reminded when you fall out of alignment.
Very true.
And then it's about getting back into it, right? And that's what has been happening with me for the last couple hours. Well, actually, for most of the day, but I really think about it honestly. So, I mean, I have to say, once again, and I've said this many, many times, I am very grateful for having a podcast like this to do because it's always a pick-me-up no matter what situation I'm in. So that's like my go-to whenever I need to get back into alignment. But, not everybody has a podcast. So, it's good to have a strategy, I think. It's good to have something to do that you can always count on, sort of like having a comfort food menu, when you don't feel like cooking, or like a friend you can call that you can always count on, or something along that line. But just something to point to, something to focus on to get yourself back into alignment. I think that kind of thing is really valuable. In fact, Daniel, it reminds me that about a year and a half ago, when Patty Framo was a co-host doing the Monday shows with me, she pointed out to me one day after one of the podcasts that because I was kind of on a similar vein, actually, now that I think about it. I was not in a good place, and she was trying to help me get back into a good place. And she said, make a list of all the things that make you feel good, that you can get into a good feeling place with right away, and then post it on the wall. And you know what? I did, and it has helped me. But once again, I have to remember to actually check the list. Otherwise, the list doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Fortunately, once again, at the top of my list was doing a podcast. But I mean, I guess it falls in the category of some days you're just not feeling it. And, you just kind of work your way through it. I do know this. I know that over time, on occasions where this has happened, and it's happened a lot less, I like that a lot. On those occasions when it's happened, I'm finding myself being nicer to myself about it. Because I have a real tendency, or I had not so much now, I had a tendency to beat myself up about it. Now I mention it on the show, and I, basically use it as a springboard to climb out as soon as possible. But there was a time where I'd say, oh God, I'm doing this again. I can't believe I'm doing this again. And of course, all I did was reinforce it. So progress is an important thing. But anyway, that's me rambling on about being out of alignment. Now let's get back into alignment. So first I'll go to you, Alex. I mean, you have a favorite thing that you do, because you've had a lot of stuff you've been dealing with that people don't necessarily know about and don't need to know about. But when you run into stuff and you find yourself saying, oh God, what do you do? How do you get yourself back into alignment? What's your favorite go-to?
Mac and cheese, TV, and my dogs. Oh, and Kenny, of course.
But not in that order necessarily.
Not in that order, no.
Not in that order. Okay. A little salute to Kenny there.
Smart play.
That's right.
smart play, important recovery.
Is it all four, or is it just one of them, or some combination?
Sometimes a combination, sometimes just one.
Whatever it takes, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dan, do you have I mean, Dan's never down anyway. He's never out of alignment. But on those rare occasions where you're out of alignment.
I get down.
When you find yourself out, what do you do?
I get down. I just demand of myself that I don't really let it hang around too much. And because I spent so many years focusing on learning how I want to feel and being deliberate in how I choose to feel, when I end up in a state that I don't consciously choose, it's very, very noticeable. So the reminder to go and look at my list on the wall is quite prevalent, because it feels icky now to not be in alignment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I agree with that.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, but generally a quick go-to for me is just to take a few deep breaths. And that gives me just about enough space to look at the wall. That gives me enough space to get out of the situation. It gives me enough space to remember, oh yeah, I don't have to feel like this, and choose something different.
That's great. I mean, because what that indicates is, I mean, I was kind of teasing you about it, but it really does indicate you're in alignment a lot of the time. Because that's when you're in alignment a lot of the time, it's not so difficult to climb back in. When you slip back out, you know, you've been there so long that just a little quick, you know, reminder of, oh, you know, here's what I like to focus on, gets you there really quickly, which is great.
Yeah, I've spent years though making my default being in alignment versus being out of alignment. It's like being present. I generally am present. So when I'm not present, like in a conversation or in a state of activity, I feel it, and I've trained myself to actually dislike that feeling, so that it flicks up a warning sign, and it gives me more leverage to choose to be back in alignment and to be more present.
That's an interesting thing. You trained yourself. I mean, I don't know about you, Alex. I didn't have to train myself. I knew I didn't like it right from the get-go, but Daniel's actually thought to train himself about that. That's really an interesting idea.
It is.
I mean, a quick tangent, just a little one.
Okay.
Remember the
well, I'll do one of my things about what I do when I want to get back into alignment while you're talking. I'll just have a little slice of cheddar cheese. So you go right ahead.
All right, you have some cheese. You have some cheddar cheese. You got to remember that the very fact that you went out of alignment means that at a subconscious level, you've chosen to be out of alignment, because the subconscious mind doesn't lose. So any time spent out of alignment is a choice. It's just a subconscious choice. So when I'm training myself, what I'm basically doing is getting my subconscious mind out of its addiction to those low vibrational states, and teaching it to better value being in alignment and being more high vibe. So that's what it actually tends to go for. So in those times when whether I'm running on a story that, I didn't meditate long enough today, or I didn't meditate this morning, so everything's going wrong, whatever story it is that I'm running on, I'll be like, whoa, I don't like where this is going, no thanks. And I'm training that deeper and deeper at a subconscious level, so I'm spending more time outside of that.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. I mean, you've got your routine down, and you hit a really important point. You've done it for quite some time now. Yeah. That's really important, because it's a reminder that, well, first of all, this isn't something that we just do every other Wednesday. You know, this isn't something that we do just, you know, okay, I did my 3 minutes this morning, I'm done for the day. This is ongoing, right? This is an ongoing thing.
It's a consistent, ongoing thing. So people ask, how long do I have to keep using Beyond Intention to choose my emotional state? I don't want to have to do this forever. Okay, mate. Well, have fun being sad and low vibe.
Good luck.
Put some work in for a little bit. And yeah, it's some work at first, but it gets easier with time. Over time, the program changes, and that's what it is. And sometimes I want to feel a bit crappy. I want to feel glumpy and gloomy. I want to have a sad tiz. And in times when that's really strong, I don't resist it. I step into conscious folly. I say, okay, dude, you're going to have an hour. Go for it. And I might be sad and listen to sad music, or mope about, or feel sorry for myself and journal about it. But then I spend just as much time, or if not more, doing something high vibe right afterwards. You know, sometimes just giving that energy space to release and be expressed means it doesn't try and hold on to you and be like, no, we're going to do this, because the suppression just feeds that energy anyway.
Yeah.
I love that phrase you just used too. You give it as much time or more to get back into high vibe. As much time or more. You know, how often in the past did I find myself in the place you talked about, you know, allowing it for an hour? I would allow it for days.
Well, we all know midnight is my cutoff.
That's right. You know, so, you know, I'd be in that phase, and I finally realized, okay, I got to break out of this. And then I'd give myself 5 minutes to break out of it, and then I figured I was done. And then I didn't understand why I wasn't getting the results. Well, I just spent days on staying in the negative, and I gave myself 5 minutes in the positive. Now, positive thoughts are like 1,000 times more powerful than negative thoughts, but wouldn't I want to actually leverage that, you know, and put it to use so that I can get there quicker instead of having to sit back and complain, my God, this is taking so long.
Exactly. I mean, I had a guest on my podcast. She does like NLP, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy. She's really cool. I'm actually doing some work with her myself as her client, and we called our episode "Reasons or Results."
That's good.
Do you want
That's really good.
Reasons and excuses, or do you want to have results? Like where do you want to be? Do you want it enough? And this is such a key thing. Sometimes it's just cool to just accept, I don't really want it enough. I actually want my moaning and complaining more, and just owning that. And it's true.
It is true.
It's just, if you just own it, then you're going to be in a better position to do something different. But if you keep denying it, fighting it, lying to yourself, all that's doing is just building up this fixed state where you're going to continually be in that sticky, icky position. And some people, that's what they want. And if that's what you want, more love, more love to you. But, there's going to be a bit of boundaries in terms of over here. Yeah. Negative Nellies are allowed to be negative Nellies. There's no judgment with that. I just invite you to be conscious about it and ask yourself consciously, here and now, is that what you choose? And if it's what you choose, thumbs up, mate. But I'm going to choose different.
Yeah.
Right.
And see you later. Much.
Yeah.
Or at least until you decide to get back into vibrational alignment, right?
Right.
That's just my take on it anyway.
I agree with you. I think it's great.
I'm co-signing.
Yeah, Alex is there. She's with us. So plus she's got the headphones on. So, when you got the unicorn headphones on, you have to kind of reach for a higher standard, really.
Agreed.
These are not headphones. This is a crown.
This is true. It's a tiara.
I like that. It's a very itchy tiara right now, and it's putting pressure on my ears, but it's cool. It's cool. But I'm not here to complain.
Heavy is the head that wears the tiara, or something along that line.
Actual factuals.
I mean, I just think it's just important just to be honest with yourself and where you're at. And that space of honesty has just got so much power for you to get a different result, or to have the same result in a less moany way.
Well, when you were talking about how sometimes you give yourself an hour, I mean, I mentioned in the past I used to do it for days. I actually have improved dramatically. Something goes wrong and I really don't like it, I'll give myself like full 5 minutes.
Wow.
And in that 5 minutes, I'll be bitching and complaining and but I don't let it stay in. I let it get out.
Yeah.
And if there's somebody else in the room, I make sure that I go to a different room because I don't want to slime somebody else.
Right. Oh my God, that's a big one.
Or if I can't go someplace else because there's people everywhere that I happen to be wanting to go to, I'll find a pillow and just do it into the pillow so that I don't slime it on somebody else.
That's a good one. Underwater is a good one as well. And then
that's a good. I hadn't thought of that one. Never tried that.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
We use that one in Beyond Intention. We get our clients to do that sometimes. Just put some water in the sink. And then set the intention that you're letting all the energy go away with the water. Empty.
That's really good.
I like that. That's a good visual, watching the water and the emotions go down the drain. I like that.
Really, really strong permission slip. Really, really strong permission slip. You're setting the container. You're allowing the water to be the conduit. We give thanks to the water before. So thank you for carrying away this energy.
It's actually a little bit better than the pillow because when you're done, the pillow's still there, but the water's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
I was doing a meditation that I cannot find for the life of me. I've been searching for it for years, and it had something similar to it where it was like, okay, take all your frustrations of the day, blow it into it mentally, blow it into this balloon, and then watch the balloon float away into the sky.
That's
nice.
Yeah,
like
it was
one.
kind of like a, de-stress before you go to sleep type of thing. I wish I could find it.
Might be on Calms. Check Calms. Calms has got like a plethora of things on there.
Yeah, no, I looked there. Yeah, I couldn't find it. There's something similar, but it wasn't the same.
Insight Timer's got them as well. And if it's that good, someone might put it on YouTube.
Yep, look there too.
Oh, wow.
There's things that come close, but it's not the one I'm looking for.
Well, that was some extent of my ability to contribute to the solution.
You did very well.
I appreciate it.
Now, Jeffrey raised a question, and I'm going to be curious to hear how you guys respond to it, especially you, Daniel. He says, what's worse, the feeling of being out of alignment or the guilt you feel about being out of alignment?
Guilty.
Yeah, because you double dipped with the guilt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'd like to turn the question around and say, what feels better? Getting out of alignment, or getting out of alignment after you feel guilty?
Well, one is with the other. So they coincide. One is within the other.
So what are you saying? You're saying that when you're climbing out of alignment, that you have to go through guilt to get there?
No, I'm saying the guilt is gone because you're coming into alignment, not coming out of alignment. This is what she said.
Well, I mean, the difference between the two options was you came out of alignment both ways, but one way you went through guilt and the other way you didn't.
Guilt's a story. I find guilt to be a story that we use to hold on to the energy longer than we need to.
I agree.
It's
Agreed.
Almost like a bypass, not a bypass. It's like a trick of the mind. Oh yeah, we're letting go of it, but now let's feel guilty for having had it in the first place. It's like it's a falsehood that you've actually stepped out of it, because as long as you're still emotionally resonating with it for whatever reason, you're still resonating with it, and guilt is a way of resonating with a past event that's no longer here anymore. You're holding on to an illusion, putting that energy back into the now. So, oh no, what did I do? Blah, 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 blah. I was out of alignment. I'm in alignment now, but oh my goodness, I was out of alignment before.
Yep. Yeah, that's what happened. Well, of course, also there's the first cousin to guilt. That's blame.
Blame and shame.
Yeah, that's the first cousin, because guilt basically is where you're either trying to make yourself feel guilty or you're trying to encourage somebody else to feel guilty. Blame is basically the same thing, but trying to do it by associating it with some action or some choice that you or the other person made, and then saying, okay, that association makes you really, really bad. Don't do that anymore. So that's why I say they're first cousins. They're pretty close. In fact, I was noticing that the other day. What? Go ahead.
No. You were noticing the other day.
Oh, I was just going to say that I was noticing it the other day. I was noticing how often people in our society engage in the blame game in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
And they do it in there's two primary paths that get taken to get there. One is the victim path. And the victim path essentially is one where the victim is constantly trying to look for who to blame for their victimhood. And then the other path, I don't know what to call this one. It's, I guess I'll call it the morally righteous path. That's the path of somebody who has decided that the only way they can feel better is if they make everybody else feel guilty about something. So they're always looking to blame everybody else to make them feel guilty so they feel better.
Religion. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. I have a cold and bronchitis and such.
Well, I'll give you credit for laughing at bronchitis. That's good.
Well, I have to laugh at it. That's the only way to get the mucus out now, is laughing. Sorry to be gross, guys.
Probably not the best topic in the age of coronavirus, but that's all right.
Well, I was tested. I am fine.
You're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Only bronchitis. Only. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So you might want to revise that one a little bit and just make it only healthy, but still, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
So
I would say those blame, shame, guilt, they're all just excuses or paths that the subconscious mind uses to keep us in the disempowering state. So to create the illusion that we're breaking free, so that we stop working to break free when we're never free in the first place. Because if you're free, you wouldn't have that stuff going on.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's just a way of keeping you in the same place. And I think it's important to remember that the lazy choice, blame is the lazy choice, and it's the easier path. It's work to take responsibility. It's work to actually say, okay, I'm not going to blame the government or China or Donald Trump or my mum or the weather for something, but just to say, okay, I'm going to step up the level of creative responsibility I'm going to take for my life. And I'm gonna say, okay, cool. I'm not sure how I created this or on what level of consciousness, but I own it. Cool. Now I'm going to choose here and now to have something different. That's a lot of work. It's not easy.
It's interesting you should say that, because I used to think that it was a lot of work to do that. I now have kind of a different perspective on it. And maybe I should kind of remember this on a regular daily basis. I think it's actually more work to stay in the blame and guilt and anger routine.
Not really, because that's what your subconscious automatically does.
It's automatic, but that doesn't make it easy.
Oh, no, it's definitely not easy in that sense. No.
Yeah. I mean,
I would say it costs more in energy.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yep.
More brain. It feels better to be aligned.
Yep.
But to your habitual patterns, to break your subconscious blueprint, to break your everyday way of doing things, that is not something that you can generally walk into overnight, and it does normally take some juice, take some beans. So that's what I mean by not being easy. Not that it's an easier part, like an easier way of being, but letting go of all that old stuff.
I agree.
Thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's true. By the way, Jeffrey's chiming in saying a big part of my journey is to stop feeling guilt for what I have or haven't done, to stop beating myself up. Yeah. I mean, it's almost worse when you haven't done it. I don't know why that is, but for some reason we beat ourselves up easier. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
We beat ourselves up easier when it's something we haven't done. I haven't figured that one out, really.
I've never done that. I don't know what you're speaking of.
It's like when you.
I need an example.
Confusion that's created to keep us busy dealing with this stuff that doesn't really matter that much.
Well, it's true. It's true. I guess the example is you've created a to-do list and you haven't gotten through the to-do list. You haven't gotten as far along on the to-do list as you wanted to, and so you start beating yourself up about it. That's beating yourself for something that you didn't do.
No, that's Tomorrow Walt's problem. That's nothing to beat yourself up about. There's more days coming. You'll finish it eventually.
This is true.
Come on now.
True. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm kind of reaching for all the examples.
I get it. I just, because I don't see that in my life. So I need physical examples. Like I don't get that at all. Sorry. Just being honest,
Well, if I remember in that place again, I'll just remember not to text Alex for support, because otherwise it's not going to come in.
Nope. No one should text me for support. You text me for the truth. You text me what you want me to do, but don't text me for support. That's not Alex's problem. Like, I'm just going to hit you back with it. That sucks.
I love the latest of that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
At least I'm honest. I'm just gonna hit you back whether that sucks. That's all I got for you.
I've been getting better. You know what I've been getting better at? I've been getting better at not judging, because I realized a little while ago that I judged a little bit. It's like, oh God, can you not just be in control of your reality? Oh. I was doing that a lot more than I realized. I got aware of it, and I was like, oh wow, but their journey's different.
Yeah.
And maybe they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I have to listen to it. So I found a loving way to acknowledge that they reached out, and to see them in empathy and in love and non-judgment. And it's generally some variation of, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I just get into my heart and I just deliver. Sometimes I need to spend some time getting in my heart about it and out of my judgy robes, and just like let them know. Okay.
Did you say judgy robes?
You did.
Yeah.
Took me a second. Okay, go ahead.
because I know the power of choice, and I know that there is absolutely nothing in our life that we can't choose to stop responding to in the same way, and then in some point create it the same way. Especially when it's first world problems that people come for, or if you've asked me for my advice on something, didn't take it, and then come back to complain about your life on a timeline where you haven't even looked at what I said last time, I really become very uninterested.
Yes.
And that's not very nice.
Speak on it.
I don't know if you saw
It's my
this.
heart. I'm sorry to hear that.
Our friend Joel Elston actually posted a meme along that line.
Oh, what did he say?
Oh, really?
He said that is the definition of an ask hole.
Ah!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen
Love
Ask
it.
Hobby.
Love it. I'm going to start using that.
Hashtag Ask Hobby. But yeah, I just from a place of love. Yes. I think I'm doing you a disservice by continually listening to your stuff, because then I'm not inspiring you to do something else. But then you might not be ready or even willing to do something else, and it's not my job to tell you if you're ready, that you should be ready, or that you should be doing something different. But then it's also not my job to pollute my experience with the energy of that stuff. And so I just lovingly say, I'm very sorry to hear that. Thanks for the intro, mate, Mr. Bill. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that. And I will hear them out, and I'll give them some space to express themselves, and I'll just hold love and space for them and leave my judgy robes in the laundry.
I love all of that. I especially loved your first piece of analysis there about how you weren't doing them any favors by listening to them.
No.
That's really big, because there are a lot of people who feel that it's their role to be listeners to other people, even to their own detriment. It's a good reminder that, you know, if you're listening to somebody, and, well, let's put it this way: if you're a super master who is able to listen to somebody who's spewing out all this stuff and you're able to maintain a very, very high level of vibration yourself anyway, to the point where you're basically not even hearing all that junk, then you're having some positive impact on them. But ultimately, even then, you're still not really helping them, because they can't receive the help. Right. Because they're in a negative vibration place. So you really can't help somebody who's just spewing out from a negative vibration place. There's no way to do that.
I mean, I take it to like a really crazy level of creation responsibility. And I always accept that for this person to even be showing up in my world, having something to say, there's something inside of me that's reflecting back through them. And so, and this is what helped me leave the judgy robes down, is recognizing that, okay, there's a part of me expressing this. So in judging them, I'm just judging myself, and I'm not helping anything. And so the reframe that allowed me to be able to hold loving space was, okay, I'm actually holding loving space for the part of me that's showing up as this, so that I can address it. And if that keeps coming up, then there's something that I need to deal with inside of myself. That's like the deeper level of it. But then the action is literally there at the moment, into my heart. I'm very sorry to hear that. And then I get in and start working on me as I'm listening to them. So I'm not taking in their stuff. I'm allowing that to be space for me to do healing work on myself.
What you said really resonates with me, because if I find myself being the recipient of some sort of a negative emotion dump along that line, my very first question that hits my mind is what you said. It's, what did I do to attract that? There's got to be something I did. Time to take a little quick inventory and say, okay, we're going to isolate that one little thing and make that go away, and we're going to focus over here instead. It's my go-to. Like, what did I do? There must have been something I did. Because, like you said, I mean, I attracted it somehow. How did I attract this? And sometimes I can't find the answer. But just the activity of asking myself, how did I attract that, kind of like snaps the hypnotic stream, so to speak. Breaks up that trance, and it disrupts it. Yeah. And allows me to remind myself, oh yeah, I don't have to get caught in this. Hooray.
and even like, if you're in it, then you've already created it. So now it's time to reflect on the emotional relationship that you're going to have with it going forward. And that's dictated by how you choose to sit with it now. So even just saying, all right, cool, my vibration attracted this. I'm not going to beat myself up about it and get guilty, because that's one way that the mind uses to hold you in the frequency.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Like, okay, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Even though, and this is like when they do tapping, even though I've created this, I still love and accept myself. I love and approve myself.
Really good.
And then have some space in that moment to just be, okay, cool. This is what's popped up. No worries. Do I want this to be a part of my future going forward? No. Okay, so what frequency do I need to be at for what I want going forward? This, and this. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. And step into that and keep stepping into that. And over time, the blueprint that was creating that disempowering pattern that I don't choose must be overwritten, because we can't have the two blueprints at the same time. There's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes the difference in terms of which one is going to predominate is which one we give the most attention to, which is why we want to continue every single day throughout our day to keep reminding myself, oh yeah, am I feeling good? Am I in alignment? If I'm not, what can I do to get back into alignment? Just constant recheck. Kind of like that pilot that Alex doesn't like who keeps going off course. I mean, you have to bring yourself back on course.
But that's the whole check-ins exercise that I always talk about. Having those set times of the day when you ask yourself, and now I ask myself the question, who am I, where am I, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And I go in and say, how am I feeling? And because I set my day up in the morning, the three emotions that I want to consistently feel, I ask myself, am I in alignment with those emotional states? And if not, then I choose to step into them there and then. And if I'm not, I ask myself, has there been something that's shown up in my life that's pulled me out of alignment? Do I need to examine the people, places, and things that I've got around me, or the choices that I've made that would take me out of alignment? And that's one of the reasons why, again, I don't get more than a few hours at a time to be out of alignment, because when that alarm goes off my check-in, I'm going to ask myself, who am I, where am I, what am I doing, what emotional state am I in? And then I've got nobody that I can blame. I can't walk anywhere, because I was given the opportunity to get back into alignment.
So when you said the alarm goes off, this is something like what, you program it onto a phone or something?
Yeah, I've got 15-minute slots. I've got 15-minute slots in varying intervals over the course of my day. Okay, I'm trying to find one that's not got lots of stuff. So yeah, so I've literally got, oh, is it going to move? Yeah, these alarms programmed into my phone. This is the weekend one, so I've got my afternoon one, and it's a 15-minute slot in my day. And it also breaks up my day. I put it odd times in the hour, so it means that I need to have, it forces me to have open time as well for people booking appointments. So I will have that 15-minute slot where I do have time to do a quick meditation, do some push-ups if I need to get the blood moving through my body, do a quick yoga kriya, do some breath work for a few minutes, just go up to the roof if I'm at home, go up to the roof for 5 minutes and just stand in the sun, whatever. It's blocked out. So if I need more time to really do a few practices to get into alignment, do some tapping or whatever, I've got 15 minutes to do that. But generally speaking, it's just asking myself a few questions, getting back aware and present, and then going through the day. But yeah, in those days when I'm feeling funky, I might need to use a couple of those sections and sit up and do something. I also like, now that I'm back in my place, just looking out the window and just looking at the water and just stepping into gratitude for. And that's it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Someone should create an app that does that, just random times of the day.
I think that my friend just shared an app with me called the Gratitude app or something like that, and I think that's one of the features that it's got on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's got like a gratitude thing. Yeah, you can ship me a thingy. I'll send you the link for it.
All right, cool.
Do you find that it's better if it's random or if you schedule it and know what you're scheduling?
I like to schedule mine in, so I've got a set time to do it.
I would like it to be random, because then it's like it makes you stop and like regroup, like whatever you're doing or throughout the day, or checking your whole day, you know?
The only reason I think there is a lot of merit to it being random, and I think that's a really great idea. It just, for me personally, I wanted those set times that every few hours I'm making sure that I'm in alignment. Because if you're spending every day checking every few hours to get back in alignment, it's going to be very, very difficult to spend a lot of time out of alignment.
I'm curious to know what may have happened that helped you really buy into this and latch onto it and stick to it. Because so often when we start a process, particularly a new process, new to us, I mean, and Daniel, you know this as well as anybody, people will try it for a day and they're done, or an hour or 5 minutes and they're done.
They don't want
and Well, on one level, they do want it. On another level, they aren't yet ready to commit to it. And I'm finding...
They want it, but they want instant results.
And
there's only one level that matters. And this...
Well, it's the one that wins, yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing. And this is where I spit, hard truths, and people fall out of love with me and aren't happy because I don't sell them a dream. I'm not selling you a dream. I'm giving you the facts. The subconscious mind is never going to lose. It moves too fast. It's not going to lose. So it doesn't matter. On some level, it doesn't really matter what your conscious desire is if your unconscious desire is the opposite, because that's what's going to win. You can maybe beat against the tide a little bit, but as soon as you go unconscious, you're going to revert back to default. So that's why the work must be done on two levels. In the short term, you're conscious, but then in the long term, shifting the unconscious narrative. It must be done. Otherwise, you're just going to be... So if you don't want it unconsciously, then you need to work on wanting it unconsciously before you try and do anything. Because otherwise, all you're going to do is build up this habit of failure that's going to reinforce those patterns, add more disempowering patterns to it too, and overall just keep you out of getting to where you want to go. So if you're noticing that you're snapping into the old weight after a day, clearly there's not a real deep desire, and it's instilling that desire at an unconscious level that needs to be done first. That's what you need to do. It could be a discipline question as well. That's why I've got the free accountability group that I've got that I do on Telegram, where we hold each other accountable to things that we're going to do. And I encourage them to start with something small. So we write our declarations on a Sunday. We write pen and paper, our declarations, and we share them. And then every day we check in and say, did you do it or not? And yes, starting with one small thing, something that you already do. So you're just building a habit of choosing to do something and following through with it. And then we add to it and we adjust it. One of the girls is, she's traveling. And so we just gave her some encouragement. Okay, if you're going to be traveling, you're probably not going to be able to do as much as you normally do. So have a core list and have a bonus list that you do for fun, which adds to it. So it doesn't matter if you don't do those ones. You've got your core things that you do. And you can just add and expand. So with my working out, for example, I really didn't want to work out. I just realized I didn't really care enough about being in shape to go through the pain of workouts and pain afterwards. And so what did I do? I found an activity that I like to do. And I started by introducing doing that just once a week.
Yeah.
And then once I did that consistently, then twice a week. Yeah. And once I was doing that consistently, then 3 times a week. And then I changed the activities because I was already doing the slots, and I started to build up a positive connection to it mentally, and rewarding myself for doing it. So now there's a positive payoff. So now discipline is going to override the subconscious desire and give you the space to build the new program inside of it, to the point where now I'm training 4 times a week this week, and I'm looking forward to doing my workouts. And I'm also looking forward to the payoff that I'm going to give myself for successfully doing those workouts. Even though at a subconscious level, I still don't really care enough about being in shape to go through the pain. The discipline allows me to micro shift into it.
Yeah.
Well, basically,
that sounds like something I want to try.
You're edging yourself into it. You're doing it a little bit, a little bit more, micro shifts. Yeah, exactly. The reason I was pursuing this question line in the first place was because I was wondering, is there something that you found probably fairly quickly along the way that, yes, you were still dealing with the subconscious mind saying no, you were still consciously saying yes, but then you got some sort of a breakthrough, some sort of a good thing that happened, and it kind of kicked it into gear some more, so it made it really easy to keep going consciously and overwrite that unconscious desire not to.
My beliefs on that are, and it's the other way around. You get the results because you've chosen to keep doing it. And there's something that Tony Robbins talks about that I love, and he just said it's certainty. Oftentimes, if the mind isn't certain that it's going to pay off, and so that's why it doesn't commit to it. It doesn't believe that the outcome's going to happen. And so there isn't sufficient leverage built for you to do it, because it's all about your action threshold and your pain threshold or your pleasure threshold being in balance. So the pain threshold has to be high enough to bring the action threshold down, or the pleasure threshold needs to be high enough to bring the action threshold down. And you can instill that in micro shifts. So it wasn't that I had a breakthrough and that's what made it happen. You'd be surprised how many people over the years I've seen have breakthroughs, they completely ignore them or bypass it and go back
yeah, well, yeah, there's that too.
you have to have that certainty. That certainty comes from giving the mind sufficient evidence that the outcome's true. And we do that with micro shifting.
That's interesting. So instead of looking for a breakthrough, you kind of create the shift and let that be the breakthrough itself. It's not like there's one single event. It's more like an ongoing series of events.
Because this is the thing. If your subconscious pattern is that you don't want it, then you're going to keep chasing a breakthrough that it's never going to happen. Or you're going to set the breakthrough barrier so high that it's not going to be achieved. The subconscious mind is very tricky at following the instructions of giving you what you've asked for. And so it's better instead to say, okay, here's my bar is really low for success here. Hit it, celebrate the hell out of it. Okay, here's another one, boom. And now the mind just witnesses, hang on a minute, we're successfully doing this every day. And there's going to be times when you really don't feel like doing it, and that's when it matters most. Yesterday, I had to go and pick up my computer from my friend, and it was like 10:30 or something like that. And I was like, well, I haven't done my chanting today. I'll let myself off one day and just, I'll confess to the group. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm going to confess to the group that I skipped it. And I just listened to that narrative, and it's like, well, this is the day that it really matters then. This is the day when that pattern of it doesn't matter gets one step closer to being broken. And I got back in and I did my chanting. I did my 11 minutes of chanting. I got it done.
So you recognized at the point where you could have been slipping away that you were slipping away. That's hard to do sometimes, but that's important to do. That's where mindfulness comes into it.
Oh, definitely.
Mindfulness. Again, I've got 20 years of experience working with these types of tools, and I've learned from, and I didn't start off doing this by myself. I started off getting the right support. Like I said, right now I've got this group, this accountability group, and I'm one of the beneficiaries of it. It's not just I'm in charge of it and everyone's reporting to me. No, I'm saying, guys, I didn't really feel like doing it today, but I've done it. Or I'm really feeling a bit tough with this one today, guys. Can I get some love from you so I can just, get past this little bump? And we encourage and support each other to get over those bumps. And that's what we do.
Yeah, that's good. I think what this conversation is demonstrating in kind of an indirect way is there's no one right way, but there are a lot of good ways.
Facts.
And really, you just got to find what works best for you. And the only way to find that is just to try and just see which one it is.
Get off your mat. You get off your yoga mat. Get out of your prayer and meditation room and get out into the world and see what works.
And if the prayer and meditation mat and the yoga map are actually part of your routine for making that vibrational shift, good. Keep doing them, but don't stop there.
Yeah. So with my whole stop meditating movement, people got really offended.
Ooh.
How could you say that after everything that meditation's done for you? Dr. Joe talks about meditation. Are you saying Dr. Joe's wrong? Like, no.
Wow.
Babe, come on the camera.
It's a legitimate question.
It's just as I said that, Olga walks in wearing my stop meditating hat. Come and show them the hat.
Oh, there it is. All right. Hello.
On the radio. So it's about getting up from the meditation and doing something else. Okay, you've meditated now. Stop that and go and apply it. And do something with it. Go and live your life. Go and enjoy the benefits of the meditation that you just did.
That's a great point. That's a fabulous point.
So you're not saying don't meditate at all. You're saying, in addition to.
Yeah, meditate and then stop and go and use it.
Got
but
it.
It's clickbait and it's provocative.
Yeah, so. It is. Because I was like, what?
Yeah. And I've got the tea. I've got an embroidered tee that we're going to put on the line as well. But the hats are now. And one of my friends, she runs a group. Teaches something called reality transurfing, and she did a video, real clickbait video. Stop meditating and do this instead. And it was like, oh my gosh! And everyone was like, how can you say that? I disagree. Meditation.
How dare you?
Watch the video and you'll see. She said, no, do something else as well. So
Right.
she's ordered one of that. Well, she asked. Well, I offered to give her one of the hats, and she said, "Yeah, she'd have it." So that's in the post to her, and I'm looking forward to her wearing it on like her videos and getting the clickbait going.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's especially appropriate considering who our guest is next week.
Yeah.
Right. Tell the audience a little bit about Kim Laboda.
Kim Lee is she's a spiritual gangster. I love her so much. She's one of Dr.
Kim Lee Boda. I'm sorry, I mispronounced, didn't I?
That's right. It's all right.
Okay, I got to get it right. I mean, when you're the host, you're
you
supposed to get these things right.
Next week. So she's one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's corporate trainers, but also does the training of his training, and she's also a team leader at his events. And she's just great. She's just great. She knows that work, like she knows it, lives it. She's a cool kitten. You guys are gonna love her. The audience is gonna love her. It's really cool. So,
well, I'm excited.
I'm curious. Did you ever tell her about the don't meditate thing? What was her reaction?
She follows me on Instagram, so she sees my stop meditating hashtag. And I wear the hat sometimes. So,
did she ever give you any feedback about it?
No, I haven't had any compliment, but she knows I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff. Actually, well, that reminds me. You talked about how it was kind of a serendipitous that Olga comes in wearing the hat just as we're talking about that. But we had another serendipity that happened over the weekend. Which why not bring it up now instead of waiting till Friday? Because Friday, of course, on Friday, Linda Armstrong likes to pull some cards and gives us some good topics for conversation. And she pulled this one card, I think it was called the White Witch. And I was particularly noticing it because it had a picture of a woman with an owl, and both of them had antlers, which was really weird.
And I remember you said that because I literally, I've been doing my best to catch the show live every day, and I've been putting like on my alarm and stuff on my schedule. And Friday I was like, I had to do something, but I was like, no, I can catch like a good 40 minutes of the show and get as much as I can of the show. And we'll get into the show. It was really fun. I was walking along. I was listening. I was like, yeah, it's really cool. I was like, when's she going to pull the cards? I want to be here for the card pull.
Was it a magic trick? What's happening here?
The cards started getting pulled just as I was having to hop off. And then that was the last one that she pulled before I had to hop off. I shared the episode with a couple of my friends. And then the next day I was on Instagram, and there's this really, really great medium that a friend of mine that I've actually done some work with before. She's just amazing. Kirsten Oxbury, really, really cool. Mandala 333, I think is her Star Mandala 333, I think is her page. And she does Oracle card pull every day. Mm-hmm. And on the Saturday, it was the White Witch card.
The exact same card.
Wow.
That same one that Linda Armstrong pulled the day before. And I was like, whoa.
And you think about it, it's not like there's just a deck of 40 cards or 50 cards, and she pulled one out of that 40 or 50. There are also like dozens of these decks.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could have been any deck she was pulling from, and she pulled from that deck and pulled that card. So we're not talking like 50 to 1 against in terms of the odds. We're talking like tens of thousands of 1 to 1 against. I mean, just monumentally large odds.
That's
and
insane.
I don't always catch Kirsten's card, but it's really funny because I'm not that much of a consumer on social media. Every time I do hop on and see one of her cards, just when I need it, and it's always got a message for me, and I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. Well.
And what you just said is what Linda likes to reinforce every time, that, or if she forgets to, I do it. But the idea that when these cards get pulled, it's for a large number of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the audience that card can be for. I mean, so often, because I'm the one who's talking to Linda, I take it as if it was for me. But, in the back of my mind, I'm also really like, well, I do. I mean, I'm the one talking to her. Of course it's for me, right?
I've got an outlandish theory on this, though.
Okay.
And I'm coming up with a name for it. I'm looking at something like quantum overlays. And basically what my theory is that of the infinite number of quantum potentials on the card that Linda could have picked, every single one of them's happening here and now. And we all experience a variation of that those potentials that matches our need, if that's what we've asked for. And so I'm experiencing that white witch card, and I'm experiencing the quantum overlay of Walt that had that white witch card. But there's also a variation of Walt that had a completely different card that I'm not necessarily experiencing in this level of consciousness.
Ooh, right. Wow. So quantum
deep,
overlay. Okay.
Yeah. So like, I've just been sitting with this so much. Like I went to this Latin music night on Friday, and the band started really late. So me and my other friend, we left because it got to like 11, and we're like, okay, I was only planning to stay till 11. So
right.
I'm going. So we went and got tacos, and we nobbled off home. But then as I was there in the room, in the venue, I was like, all of these different strands of quantum potential are overlapping in this moment, here and now. And behind me, nothing exists because I'm not taking anything with my senses. So in front of me is this barrage, this cacophony of overlays that are happening, and everybody's having those overlays too. So all of our vibrational frequencies are all matching here and now at this event. And then as soon as you close our eyes, they disappear again and open up. And then they start flashing in again and matching each other. But moment to moment to moment to moment, those overlays can come out of alignment. And so there could be someone that was in the room that wasn't in the room before because we didn't see them. And then we change our state, and then we look and notice, oh, there's blah, blah, blah. And that just meant that they overlaid in that moment, and then it happened. And that's where I was playing. That's what I've been playing with right now.
Jeffrey asked an interesting question. He said, so how was that card interpreted, and how did you use it to shift your perspective? And honestly, I can't remember how it was interpreted. I don't remember what Linda read out of that card. What I do know is that when Daniel shared the fact that this other psychic had pulled the same card, I took that as a message that was almost, it may have been related to what the card's message was, because they always have these little paragraphs about what the card means. But I took it as, this is another way of reinforcing, take these cards seriously. Look what just happened. Something really, really important happened here. Are you noticing this? It kind of reminds me of the episode you and I did, Alex, last fall, when we missed manifestations. I wasn't going to miss this one.
Right, I know. Oh, man, that was a good episode.
It was. By the way, that one now has over 1,800 plays.
Of course it does.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our number one for 2019. It was the number one episode. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I want to. Can someone send me the link to it? I want to listen to it.
Yeah, sure. I'll send one to you after the show.
Thank you very much.
Problem. Something else that you said cued something in my mind. I was trying to remember what it was. It had to do with the synchronicities, and I know what it was, because you made reference to quantum when you said quantum overlays. And I know that with the law of attraction, as we focus on stuff, we get more of it. It shows up more and more in our life, in our lives. What really has been capturing my attention, though, is where stuff is showing up in my life coming from realms that I would not have expected it to come from. Give you an example. My wife has been getting into watching documentaries on Netflix lately. And she was tuned into a Netflix documentary on Bob Fosse, the choreographer.
Oh!
You like Bob Fosse?
Well, my mom does, so I'm like, know all about him. Yeah. Oh,
okay. All right. Yeah. Well, anyway, they, of course, it's a documentary, so they've got, dancers and other choreographers all commenting on his career and, the tremendous contributions he made and so forth. And then this one dancer comes on and she starts talking about her thing to talk about. And you know how they put subtitles very often saying what the person's name is, and maybe they're associated with this particular, this play or this movie or whatever. Well, underneath her name, it said dancer and quantum physicist.
Wow. Those are two extremes, or are they?
And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, apparently all this kind of thing that we talk about has reached the world of dance to the point where somebody has actually taken upon herself to learn how this quantum physics stuff really affects our lives. I thought that was pretty cool.
I agree.
I mean, it's not the typical subtitle.
No, it's definitely not.
I wonder what that thesis would look like.
Right.
Dancing into the quantum.
Well, especially the Fosse style, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
All this very pointed motions and hand movements and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Jazz hands, the spirit fingers all day.
The spirit fingers, that's right. Oh, there's Daniel doing the spirit fingers. I love it.
I was very, very sure to make sure that I made no sound and you two were laughing at the same time.
Oh man, I wish we could just say the person's name and the camera would go to them, but no. It doesn't work like that. Look at Dan! Look at Dan!
This will be a very different show.
It would be. It would be.
I always trust Zoom to just pick that appropriate time to show Dan, even when he doesn't expect he's being shown. Just
like
the audience can see it.
My dogs the other day.
That's fabulous.
Robot hell.
You just keep focusing on that, Daniel. That way we'll get more and more views. I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I want more of your listeners as well as viewers. So make sure that if you're not yet subscribed, that you subscribe to the podcast. And for those of you who have done it, I want to thank you very much. Guys, I took a little inventory. We are now officially over 600 listeners per episode and growing. We have grown at a tremendous rate. We're basically running at about a 250% growth rate year over year right now.
Nice.
Yeah, really, really good. So thank you very much to all of our listeners who have signed on. And for those who have not yet signed on, join the fun, because we want to keep ramping the numbers up and you get more and more of this daily dose of happy stuff. It's really simple to do. Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and right at the top of the page, just like Daniel did, one click, he did it. One click, he became a subscriber. I can't
one click. It's all you need. A one click is all you need.
Now, I can't guarantee it's going to be one click for everybody, because not everybody has the same setups on their phone, but it's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3. But usually it's 1 or 2. It's usually pretty quick. And then after that, all the episodes are coming right to your device, and you can follow and listen and basically talk about, building a routine where you're working on building up your vibration. What a great way to do it. 5 days a week. You've been talking about that, Daniel. You like to tune in to help build that vibration. Good stuff.
Even when I'm sort of nibbling and doing something on the computer, just having it on and jump in, comment.
Yeah, nothing goes better with LOA Today than snacks.
Snacks, okay.
Snacks. Preferably cheesy snacks. Cheez-Its, Cheetos, cheese, all the cheeses.
All the cheeses. And may I just say, Walt, that your energy, which I did read without your permission, I've asked for forgiveness, has gone right back up.
It has.
It does at the end, about this time.
It always does. I mean, literally, if you're going to be addicted to something, I recommend being addicted to doing a podcast. Because I am totally addicted to it, and it's great. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I mean, literally, you have little alarms on your phone that you play every day. I actually tried doing that. They drove me nuts, so I turned them off. But doing the podcast every day, that's my alarm.
Yeah.
It's just a ping. It just does a ping. It's not like a... It's more like a...
So I picked the wrong music. Is that the idea? Okay.
Yep, definitely.
Right. Actually, for me, it was more like, I really don't want to have to stop right now. I have this thing I'm doing, and I'll just deal with that later.
But that's why again, having that structure and having those block times, I work around it so that time's always open.
And that's the way I feel about the podcast, because that is a very blocked time. It's always 4 p.m. New York time, Monday through Friday. Right. So everything else, I schedule around it. That's how important it is. And every single time. And Alex can attest to this. I know it's happened for her too. Yep. Every single time. Doesn't matter if I'm in a good mood, I'm in a great mood by the end. If I'm in a poor mood, I'm in a good mood. And sometimes if I'm in a poor mood, I'm in a fabulous mood at the end. Mm-hmm. So, love it. Daniel, don't worry about the fact that you read my energy, because you're one of 600 people who do that every day. So, anything, any last minute words before we part for company for the day, which is always the sad part of the day, because I always like the high of doing this. But what's the takeaway? What's the big takeaway today? Alex, what's your takeaway?
You can micro shift yourself into anything.
Ooh. Really good.
Thank you.
Very
right
pithy.
Off the tongue, right there. Yeah.
Well, Daniel, can you top that, or can you add to it, or just come up with an alternative?
I bow at the feet of the.
All right.
And her powerful pink tiara.
Oh, thank you.
The standard has been set. There it is. Mm-hmm. It's good. The
bar's pretty high over here. Yeah, I agree.
And by the way, I really do want to thank you guys, because I've been trying to do a show, and we finally did one today, where we really came up with some good strategies for what do you do when you bounce out. You just find yourself outside that vortex. And very often we'll get into, well, you just got to change your beliefs and all that, which is fine. But we came up with some strategies today.
Yeah, we dug a little deeper.
Really, really good strategies. What can you really do? What are some? Well, we came up with some good ones. And I may even try to program some alarms back into my phone again. You never really know.
Put a happy song. Find a song that makes you happy, or a selection of them, and you've got the iPhone, so you can put the song from your phone as the alarm. So a song that makes you happy, and you can use a variety of songs, or even change the songs around at random. Play, and that's when you know.
That I may have to do a little research, because I do have one happy song on there, but it's my ringtone, and I don't really want to confuse that with an alarm,
that can be confusing.
Yeah, but it's the Charlie Brown theme, the Snoopy's
nice
theme. Yeah, that I like that one. That always feels good to me. So. Anyway, with that happy thought in mind, thank you guys very much, and you two and I will be doing the show again on Thursday. Now, Thursdays, we had been doing your book, Daniel, and we finished Stepping Beyond Intention. So I don't know. I know you've got at least one, maybe two other books that you've got to talk about. Maybe you want to go along in that direction, or maybe you have something else in mind. But, shoot us a note and we'll figure out what to do on Thursday.
Okay.
His eyes are moving. He's thinking. The eyebrows are going too. Oh, this is serious.
Not the ears. Stop it. Oh, that was great.
With that happy thought in mind, thank you guys so much. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.